Three terrorists, three bombs, one mission. The carnage is Istanbul's airport exposing these killers. They had a sophisticated plan. The first creating a distraction in a nearby parking lot, drawing security away from the terminal. That move allowing the accomplices closer access to the airport. One of them detonating just outside the terminal at a busy security checkpoint. That blast giving the third killer a clear path inside the airport. With me now to talk about this is Arash Ari Aramesh, a national security and foreign policy analyst, and Robert Baer, a CNN intelligence analyst and a security analyst. Welcome to both of you. Welcome. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure.
I got you, Carol.
Glad to be here.
Okay, got you. I want to show our viewers some disturbing video first off, because it's video that we don't get to see that often, and that's probably a good thing. But this is security footage of one of the suicide bombers blowing himself up. You can see him fall to the ground. He fell to the ground after being shot by a security guard. He's writhing in pain, and then eventually he blows himself up. As many times as I see things like this, Bob, I still can't fathom how someone could have the psychology to do this to themselves.
Well, Carol, it's ideology. It's very simple. Fundamentalism, submission and sacrifice. You accept orders without thinking. Sacrifice means martyrdom. That's the term they use. And also, these people have probably been on the front, seen a lot of violence over the last year. They're prepared to do this. And as well, the technology is such that they probably had a dead man switch, so that the moment he released his hand or his arm moved, the bomb went off. And yes, it was well planned. This is a commando-style attack, speed, surprise, maximum violence at the point of contact. In their terms, they did everything right.
So Arash, the Turkish airport is so heavily fortified. They're known for security there. Is there any way then to stop a suicide bomber?
It's very difficult to stop suicide bombers, even at a place like the Ataturk International Airport. Unlike many airports here in the West, Ataturk extra security inside the airport. Before you even checking, you have to go through one layer of security to get your bags screened and to go through a metal detector. But again, even at that point, there is a big congregation of people, and people gather and line up to go through security, and that creates a good soft target for terrorists to hit. So, again, we're talking about major international airports that are targets of ISIS or other terrorist organizations. And the reason is you can't really have hundreds of checkpoints and sort of shut down traffic to all incoming and outgoing traffic for the sake of security, because then you will no longer have a free and open airport. So no matter how hard you try, and we should try harder, but no matter how hard you try, there are going to be places at airports that are going to be soft targets and unprotected. And that's a challenge that we have to deal with.
Bob, Turkey has conducted airstrikes in Syria, apparently with U.S. help. The Turkish president talked with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. They're not exactly on good terms, but they did talk. Is this the tipping point for Turkey to do more in the fight against terror?
I think they understand the problem they have now. At the beginning of this, they were almost supportive of the Islamic State because it was fighting Bashar al-Assad, their main enemy. But now, obviously, they've seen the result of this, the blowback. The problem is we've been bombing these people for the last 3 years, just not doing any good. It's not doing good in Yemen. This ideology will live on. Even after the fall of Fallujah, their people are more committed than ever, and you're seeing these attacks are spreading to other countries, Jordan, Lebanon, Yemen, just this last week. So this is not the end of it, nor is it of the ideology. I have maintained that they could lose the capital of the caliphate, Raqqa, today, and it would make very little difference.
Oh, my goodness. So Arash, I want you to take a look at the tabloids here in New York City. On the front cover of both tabloids is a man trying to save a child. It's a very dramatic, it's just a heartbreaking picture. The Daily News calls ISIS baby killers, and that is certainly true. ISIS is holding 3,500 people as slaves. Hundreds of thousands of Muslims have died at the hands of ISIS. What will it take for Middle Eastern countries to put aside their religious differences, their factional differences, and fight this evil together?
It's going to take a miracle, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. It's not just sectarian and religious differences. We're talking about real political differences and differences of security and national interest. The ongoing proxy war between Iran and Saudi Arabia in the region has fueled much of this conflict. What is going on in Turkey and other countries around the region is a direct and an indirect impact or effect or consequence of the Iraq war and the Syrian civil war. Look at what's happening in Turkey today. Istanbul Airport has been and still is, but used to be the major hub of transit for foreign jihadis coming to Turkey to go through Turkey to go to fight in Syria. For years and years, the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and former Prime Minister Davutoglu didn't really do much about it to crack down. And as Bob just said, they were very much in favor of bringing in these foreign jihadis to fight against the regime of Bashar al-Assad, who has committed, without a doubt, genocide against his own people. But this free flow of jihadis coming from Europe, from Central Asia, from other parts of the world to go through Turkey and go to Syria has definitely opened this sort of transportation gate to many foreign jihadis, A. And B, I don't really see this ongoing conflict to come to an end anytime soon. But I do think that these actions taken by ISIS are acts of desperation at this point. Now that they've lost Fallujah, their symbolic heartland in Iraq, now that they're under attack in the Raqqa province in Syria, and the Raqqa, their the Caliphate capital in Syria, now that they're under attack around both Iraq and Syria, I think they're trying to take out these sort of symbolic yet spectacular attacks to get more attention, to inspire more recruits, and to try to get more followers. But again, these are acts of desperation, and we do need to put a little more pressure, or increase the pressure on ISIS with, what we just saw, what U.S. cooperation in the air with Iraqi forces on the ground has produced. Fallujah is now under Iraqi control. And again, I'm not saying the Iraqi forces who have taken Fallujah out of ISIS' hands are all Jeffersonian, Republicans. No, far from it. They are sectarian forces. There are Shia militias fighting there. But again, we just saw U.S. cooperation helping the Iraqis on the ground, and also U.S. cooperation and helping some of the Kurds in Syria fighting against ISIS can produce great results. We don't necessarily have to commit thousands of boots to the ground. We do, and we can be much more effective, and we have been, I think, in the past few months.
All right, I have to leave it there. Arash Ari Aramesh, Robert Baer, thanks to both of you. Still to come in the newsroom, terrible.